Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Ancient Warfare Answers. I have lost count. I think we're somewhere north of 150. Anyway, welcome to another episode, and don't forget that you too can ask a question. Anyone can ask any question about Ancient Warfare, and Jasper and I will attempt to answer it. Jasper Ortage, the editor of the magazine, and I'm Murray Dahm, the assistant editor. And today we are going to attempt to answer a question from someone, and I must admit I got this wrong because I thought that their actual name was Layman, but no, it's Ancient Warfare Layman from Patreon. And you too can be a Patreon of the podcast. You just have to go to patreon.com/Ancient Warfare Podcast. And there's 3 different levels at which you can support us. And also on Roman Army Talk. So if you feel like it, please support us and ask us questions. Anyway, Ancient Warfare Layman's question for Jasper today is, did Ancient Armies wargame in any fashion we would recognize, either in the armchair sense or practically in fields or on the seas? Jasper?
No. I think actually it's not as far as we know. There are, if you're thinking of wargaming like with toy soldiers, I think we know that there are definitely toy soldiers that we found, and I think, and toy weapons and children's equipment. Not very much, but I think there is some.
I think there's more chariots than anything else, isn't there? Really?
Yeah, chariots, lots of them.
Toy chariots, lots.
Yeah, well, chariots symbolism, whole different podcast, books, studies, everything. No, but. And I think they were used for play, and it's clear that training for war is a big thing, and thinking about warfare. But actually, I should be posing this question to you, Murray, because this is more your specialty. So feel free to chime in if you feel like you need to. It seems that they've definitely thought about how to wage war and to think about it and to get ideas, but they are always ideas from, it seems from such situations. They go, in the past, such and such general got to a situation where his troops were on a mountain and the enemy was over there, and then he did this and then he won the battle. And it's always based on a specific set of circumstances and a specific action and an idea, and that leads to an outcome, and you get inspiration. I suppose the ancient idea is, from all these examples, you yourself try to learn principles that you can then adapt and use on the battlefield when it comes to going into actual war. I don't think inevitably, I'm sure that there have been ancient generals that when they tried to explain the situation to their subordinates, that they would, if there was some sand around, they would grab a stick and maybe try to make a little picture of what was where and what they wanted them to do. But that's not really wargaming, I suppose. It's more trying to visualize what you want and getting your orders across, which it seems in ancient warfare that happens at the beginning and before the battle. There's very little chance once the battle is underway of interfering, and apart from very locally by actually going there as a general yourself and grabbing a standard or grabbing a sword and encouraging people, or of course the deployment of the reserves at the right time. But otherwise, it's just there's too much dust and confusion and noise to be able to effectively transfer orders, and that doesn't seem to be very many mechanisms for it, other than very locally. I think we did an issue about battlefield communication, but that's 12 years ago, Murray.
Oh my gosh,
12 years ago. But
it's not worth thinking about.
Well, it is we're becoming ancient history ourselves.
I think you're right. I think that I've never come across a game being played. Often it's actually in popular media versions of ancient warfare. So you get, Scipio Africanus showing how he's going to make the legion deal with the elephants. You get it in, I think, Oliver Stone's Alexander.
Yeah, that's right. In Alexander, you see nicely sculpted miniatures on a sand table. But even then, I suppose if you're really talking about a war game, even if there are no rules, I assume the basic idea, certainly for a general, is that you sort of set out the situation and then sort of mentally go through, I do this and then he does that.
Exactly. I think it's a literary, imaginative, and discussion-based game of any kind, where you've got reading literature and thinking about situations. You've got walking the field. So Philopoemen goes to the battlefields of Greece and imagines how he would conduct maneuvers in that terrain. So there's that kind, but that's not a game. That's walking a battlefield. But not walking a battlefield to understand a battle, walking a battlefield to envisage how you would refight it with the forces you have. It's not the same gaming.
You need somebody else to do it with. I think it seems to be you need somebody else to provide an unexpected. You think you're going to do this? No, but I'll do that. And that's how you sort of go through and maybe come up with, for a general, might come up with the best possible tactic.
We don't know of any mock, one of the things that these generals have that we don't is, every Saturday afternoon you can get the militia out and drill them. So you could, conduct war games in that regard, but we don't know of that. We know of drill, but we don't know of, split into two, shirts and what was it? Yeah, shirts and skins, as it used to be, and conduct some kind of faux battle. We don't know of that happening. So yeah, hard to know. I think that in terms of the question being asked in any modern sense, no, absolutely. But
on the other hand, the obvious example, of course, is chess, which probably doesn't go back that far, but there might be similar games that are a war game, a strategic game on a very abstract level.
Yeah, well, you've got those board games back into ancient Egypt, which continue to be popular. The game of and Mehen and Senate, and they last millennia. Those games are, they're popular for 3,000 years. So there must be others. We know that there's lots of dice, and we know about gambling, but there must have been other things that were being done too. So there must have been tactical and strategic games, but. Yeah, it's an interesting one. No one seems to make the leap to toy soldiers, really. Even though there are toy soldiers and there are games, no one ever seems to combine.
Connect the two. Actually, I mean, maybe we should pose this, Angus. We should pose this question to the members of the WSS, the Wargame Soldiers and Strategy panel, on a different podcast, which you should definitely listen to if wargaming is your interest. He said, without any interest in the other podcast at all. I checked Henry Hyde's was a wargaming compendium. The compendium actually has a fairly extensive introduction into the history of wargaming, and he didn't have any examples either.
I mean, in most cases, you're looking at H.G. Wells is sort of one of the first war games, but
well, there seems to be, back into the 17th, 18th century, fairly extensive toy armies for princes and stuff, which you can easily visualize how they might have been used to at least teach the prince how to maneuver his army on a battlefield.
Yeah, but see, that's the other thing, is that a lot of that seems to be diorama based, as in, look at them, they look amazing. You don't do anything with them or move them against anything. You just set them up, and go, yeah, and that's it. So, anyway. There you go. Well, I think we have said no, and then we extrapolated on that no as to why. So there you have it, Ancient Warfare layman. Join us next time for another Ancient Warfare Answers.